So the seats are unlocked, folks. Join the show, and we'll see what there is to talk about today. Other than that, I know it's just been a long week. We had so much going on last weekend. On the 1st was my 10-year anniversary. On the 5th was my daughter's birthday. On the 10th was my wife's birthday. And it was just everything. So, and then my daughter, my second oldest daughter, married her BFF on Friday. So it was just one of those kind of weeks where if you were trying to get a hold of me and couldn't, I can just lay it out there. I was not available. It's that simple to it. But I like coming out here just for the fact that we need a place to network. We need a place to come out and stop all the squabble that takes place out on social media. I know I come out every day on social. I'm on Facebook at least 3 times a day. And when I am, I'm not only communicating with friends, but I'm also communicating with business people that I work with, people that I've been on startups with, people who I actually do business dealings with on a regular basis, or those people that I just like to talk about business with. So that's why I like to come out here. He's on the sucky laptop. Oh, no, that's all right, Steve. You're fine. I'm just talking to Steve Schroyer over there in the chat. You're not seeing the chat because if you're not on Get Vocal, you're missing half the game. The whole point of this networking process that we do over here on Get Vocal is to get people to sit in the hot seat and share the conversation, because I could sit here all day and talk to you people and let you know what's going on in my life, tell you what I like to do, tell you the things that I know and appreciate about live stream video and the way it's used nowadays. But I really want to start to get other people's opinions and other people's objectives and kind of open up that conversation that takes place with the few of us that like to get on camera all the time, and start connecting with those that don't, because not everybody likes to play this game. This isn't for everyone. It's the kind of thing that, you know, it takes courage for one to get on a camera, and it also takes a little bit of practice knowing how to communicate with others on camera. So that's really what we like to try to help people with out here at Get Vocal. So if you're watching from either Facebook or YouTube, if you follow the link, well, no, there isn't a link over on YouTube yet, is there? No, there should be, because I set up my cards to link you right here to Get Vocal. You will either see me on the front page broadcasting, or there is also a welcome room. So if you're not prepared to come into a live broadcast that's going out to Facebook and YouTube, we also do Periscope, but today I am not broadcasting to Periscope. It's an extra step that has to be done. It's available, but I've never been a big Twitter guy, so I don't tend to broadcast out there very often. But what I am doing is I'm coming out here to connect people at different levels. And it's not just about sitting down and talking tech. It's about getting to know the individual for who they are. And that means letting them answer with their opinion as to how they feel about something, and then let someone else do the same, so that I'm kind of the moderator. If we get into topics of discussion that might get heated or might be something that, you know, people don't agree on, that's what's nice about this feature of having 4 squares, is that the host can sit there and be the mediator, be the moderator, be the person that puts that little buffer between 2 people who don't agree, or even be that connecting fiber that takes an educator to a student, or a mentor to someone in business who really needs one. So that's the reason I'm out here. That's the main focus of this broadcast. It's not to try and sell you something. It's not to try and promote a product or a service. If I wanted to, I could. There's no doubt about that. And I will, over time, bring my services to the table, but that's not really why. Hey, I think I know this guy. I got cameras going in every direction. Mr. Preston.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. So what is the IERH? I got to know.
Hold on. I can't hear you.
Sure. Take your time, sir. Take your time. This is Preston Odenbrecht. If you're not familiar with Preston, he's down there in Honduras. So I got to ask you, Preston, you probably know, now your volume might be down a little bit. Can you say something for me?
It's all the way up on the top here.
Oh, okay. No, I thought I was hearing a low volume there for a minute. So what's this story of this huge convoy coming up from Honduras heading to the American border? You got to tell me. You would know more than anybody probably what's going on. So fill us in a little bit on what that story is all about.
Well, it's politically motivated.
Absolutely.
The whole idea is basically we had a president and a non-president running against each other, of course. And the non-president said he won. The president said he won. So it was back and forth. And basically the opposition is opposed to the new president. So what they did is they're organizing through Venezuela and some of the dictatorships that are there, this move to be able to say that they're poor, the president's not helping them, they can't find jobs. And yeah, there are some people in the country sides that are not able to find jobs. It's hard. I mean, obviously with no rain,
I'm sure,
it affects the crops and those people, but they're part of a political, I guess, team, right? And so they get paid to go walking. And people don't even realize that. So if they, a lot of them are basically turning back because it's too much. I mean, I couldn't even imagine walking that far.
How many miles is it total that they're trying to walk? Like 4,000, 5,000 miles or some crap like that? They're in Mexico City now. So how far is Mexico City from you?
From me, probably another 1,000 miles or so. I don't know.
So how do people get that far that fast? That sounds like buses to me. Are they walking 1,000 miles in like 10 days? Is that even possible?
I don't even know. I don't even know. But they're turning away, and unfortunately, a lot of the, what President Trump has said, I believe is true. There's a lot of crime people coming on board and basically walking towards the border as well. There's people in the group that is basically saying these things that they shouldn't be, and so it's a total political move, and it's silly, but it's happening. So
it's kind of incredible what goes on nowadays. I mean, I don't understand all the politics about it. I know one way or another, if we don't come together as a nation here, we're going to see some serious backlash in the next few years, one way or the other, because the next presidential election is only going to get uglier. The way I see it, if we can't find a way to come to terms with each other and stop. What we need to do is come up with a purple hat so that we can put the red hat with the blue hat and come up with a purple hat, and everybody can just wear the purple hat. I think that would.
Well, you chose the right colors for purple.
That would answer it, wouldn't it? Well, take two basics and take two primaries, make a secondary, and we go from there.
There, now I got it right.
There you go. Yeah, well, the one thing I'll tell you, Preston, what you want to do is keep that. You would be better to find a way to turn your desk in front of that window. Or do you have two windows there?
I got it.
Always get that light on your face.
Yep. I got it. I can see the warehouse.
So were you or any of your family veterans?
Huh?
Were you or any of your family veterans?
Yeah, me.
That's what I thought. I wasn't certain for sure, but I want to thank you for your service then, sir. Where did you serve and in what branch?
It wasn't we actually served for Desert Storm, and I was actually one of the people that processed the soldiers to go to Desert Storm. So,
did you?
It's my job. I'm not in the front lines. I'm more the adjutant general, as they call him.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was going to head over to my mom's wall. See if I
noticed now in mobile, they actually have it so the message comes popping up on your screen here. So
you should be able to see the comments now on Get Vocal's mobile app. So if any of you out there are watching and you want to figure out how to do this on Get Vocal, or you can't broadcast from the app yet, but you can go grab it on iOS and Android and come check out the conversations. It looks really nice because it has the 4 squares of the video and the comments pop up, kind of like Periscope does, right? Where they or even Facebook, where they just overlay on the screen now. And that's huge. So let me head over to a picture I wanted to show you guys, if I can get to it. Probably have to go back in time. Yep.
Just for the heck of it, somebody else is popping in.
Yeah, that's good. The more the better. Oh, that's you. The other Preston is popping in. You must have got your internet speed kicked up a notch, eh?
Yeah.
See
if this would work.
Really? All right, I'll bring up some photos here for people. This is once I get my desktop share going.
I know you wanted to talk about I know you wanted to talk about some other things, but one of the things I wanted to just hit on real quick was the mobile app. I've been using it and testing it. 2 things I've seen, and I've already reported it as a feedback form. because they told us to hit the hamburger and then put feedback form, not necessarily by email. But you cannot change the camera view. So all I have is the selfie view. I don't have the outside camera.
Oh, you can't use which camera you want. You can only use the selfie.
And you
gotcha.
also
I'll see what they can do about that.
Horizontal on it. It doesn't horizontally work.
Oh. Well, there's probably reasons for that, though. I would like to see it go that route, but it's mostly because they're using the box video rather than the actual 16:9 format right now. Yeah. Hoping they might consider it. We don't know what they're going to do out here at Get Vocal with as far as format goes. We've kind of requested to hope that they would, but we'll find out soon. So all I wanted to share was the fact that, just speaking on Veterans Day for a minute, my brother served over in Kuwait during the conflicts over there in Desert Storm as well. And he was over there after they dropped the bunker buster bombs in Baghdad, trying to clear things up as well. So he was more on cleanup crew. And then my father served in Vietnam back in the 60s. So I would have to find Mom's page to get a picture of that. But, so we've got a few. I was supposed to be in the military myself. I should have ended up in, let's just say it for what it is, probably 82nd Airborne with some buddies of mine in the Army Rangers. And that was back in the 80s. I was in a little trouble with the law at the time I'd just be honest, I had gotten caught taking a Creedence Clearwater Revival cassette tape out of a Kmart store when I was a young teenager. So I was on probation at the time I was graduating high school, and they wouldn't take me. So I was all signed up, ready to go, and it was like the last closing line before I signed my name into the Army. They were like, wait a minute, what's this thing about this probation? I said, well, I told you about it. It just came down to the fact that they couldn't take me, so I was left behind, and 3 of my buddies went without me.
Rangers are tough.
Yeah, it would have been fun, though, I think. We would have had a ball.
So you didn't did you train as a Ranger then?
No, I didn't serve at all. I ended up going into the fireman service for 4 years just to feel like I'd accomplished something as my civic duty to the country, you might say, because I couldn't get in to fulfill my service. My brother actually signed up going to the Navy as an airman, and when he found out he was going to be on a ship for 8 months, he about crapped himself and decided to change his tune. He was like, I don't want to be on the ocean for 8 months. What would I do with myself? I definitely feel for those guys who get stuck out on carriers for, a year, 6 to 8 months at least, or in a submarine. Did you see where there's the first time ever a female admiral is now taking the helm of a USS aircraft carrier? That was just announced online. I think I just saw it. Let me see if I can dig that up real quick, because I didn't get her name today. So I want to give her a big shout out. All right. So what else you got going this week? What's happening in Honduras?
Just my normal stuff, Work was good last week. I mean, I set up appointments for my bosses and had 6 appointments set last week. So that was a good week. We'll see how this week goes. So far, 1, but hi, bye.
I just want to say hi, Ryan Perez out there in the audience today. Thanks for stopping by. I see Joey's out there. I saw him commenting as well. If you don't know, Joey's at PodXcast. I always say that wrong. I got to be careful there.
X Podcast.
Okay, here it is, I think. First female CO of an aircraft carrier. This was announced in May. Why were they just showing her on TV today? Maybe she just finally got her office, got her ship. That's what I'm expecting.
I'm going to switch over to another account because my neck is killing me.
Oh, she was vying to be. Okay, so that was the article I saw back in May. Let's see, this was the only news I have right now was here. It's the executive officer captain, Amy, how do you spell her name? Bauerschmidt? I think it's Bommerschmidt. She's the one that said back in March she was going to shoot for running her own aircraft carrier, and I believe she was granted such today. So let me head back and see if I can't catch the news on that. Seems like that would have been headline news because I just saw it last night on TV. March 9th, May 9th. Nothing here. Oh, here it is. 3 hours ago. Yep, there it is. So Navy's first female executive officer on the USS Abraham Lincoln. It's one of our 11 aircraft carriers out there in the high waters. But that's just pretty cool. I'm glad to see that they're getting positions like that when it comes to the military, because if they want them, I think they should have a right to engage just as well as a man does. If they're capable, get them out there. If they're all excited about it, let them. All right. I can't hear you, Preston. I lost your volume. Or is that just me? Let me see if that's... No, it's not me. I have nothing on you right now. You're muting out. Let me see if my headphones didn't. Go ahead and say something. Nope, not getting anything from Get Vocal on your audio at all. You're not muted. I didn't mute you. Try jumping in another spot. See if that fixes it. All right, so I'm going to go see what's happening over in Trump land. I like to check the news on Trump every now and then, just because you never know what's going to happen. I still can't hear you. It's not just me, because I would see you bouncing on my VU meters here, and you're not even coming through. There's nothing bouncing behind me to show your audio. Otherwise, I'd see it. Might have to try the other one. All right. Anything? No, I'm not getting anything, dude. Is it me? No, because I can turn on my speakers and I'd be able to hear you. Something went dead on your end, dude. Did you check your settings for your mic? Make sure it didn't switch mics on you. Nah, you got nothing, dude. I would see it right here, because I have the control there for this channel coming out. He's not here. Steve, you're not here? Okay, sorry. Pop Xcast. That's what I said, right? Didn't I say that right, Joe? I know Preston said it backwards, but I was trying to avoid that. Come on, Preston. Come on, Preston. We're live. You got to have some sound, man. Nothing. I got nothing, man. Are you seeing meters bouncing on Windows anywhere? PG Go. PG. I'm not getting any audio from you now, dude. I don't know what you did over there, but something swapped. He changed something up and it's not working. I don't know, dude. I mean, I would just say go to your sound settings over where the little speaker is over there in the corner. Check your sound. And it should be, well, you're not using VB. You're not using any third-party software, are you? Are you coming in just through the camera? If you think I know what you're saying, guess again. He can hear me just fine, obviously. So for those of you who are here or who are watching out on Facebook, Preston is stopped in to say hi at Wake Up West Coast, and he was doing just fine there until he stepped out and stepped back in, and now we can't hear him. So we're just going to go with the flow on this one. That's what we get for that. I hope that we can solve this problem soon. Can't spend the whole broadcast trying to figure out your audio, Preston. So I apologize if there's nothing you can do on your end. But a lot of stuff going on the way out. So I'm going to just head over. If you guys want to leave posts on Twitter and hashtag either Get Vocal or hashtag Wake Up, go right ahead. They will show up in the feeds over here, over my head normally. And again, if you're on Facebook, leave a comment, and that should show up as well. I should probably test it. So 2 hours ago, let's see. Michelle Obama she stopped even trying to smile at President Trump, which, okay, I suppose that's her right to do so. Not sure what that garnishes or how that helps the country in any way, but I guess that's the way it's going to be. Me, I'm not. Let's just clear one thing up, okay? I know I may seem as though I'm an avid Trump supporter. I'm not an avid Trump supporter. I am a president supporter. He is my president. If I feel he's doing a good job as president, now don't get me wrong, he's doing a terrible job when it comes to relations overseas, and generally a lot of his outbursts at a lot of different things. Let's just say it. Women of color, obviously, we found to be an issue in this recent foray, though I gotta say one thing about that. I have watched also how some of these women of color have just come out on the attack, in attack mode all the time. So I can understand why people maybe hold on, talk to the hand to some of these people that come out in fiery vengeance. But if you want to hold a standard conversation with someone, then I doubt these interactions would take place in the way that they do. We saw what happened just the other day in the White House press room where we had people from CNN booted out. I don't need to mention names. The stuff's in the news. I'm not an avid news watcher. I actually avoid the news as much as possible. When my TV comes on, my TV doesn't go to a news channel. My TV might show the weather, and it might actually go out and hang out on Netflix for a bit, or we may watch some crazy reality TV every now and then. But when it comes to following news stories, I get my news online like most other people do, and I check my news online. I don't come out here and just take the first story that pops up and say, oh, run with it and let's post it. I saw some of that stuff take place earlier today, and I'm just going to try and be generally calm and collected about it. But when I see posts that come out like with the VA, okay, and it's a good time to talk about it today, because I feel with it being Veterans Day and the fact that the VA is falling very short once again on how they handle our vets here in this country. One of the issues is that the White House, President Trump, authorized a GI Bill for life type thing for those who are serving our country. It was the VA's responsibility to run the show, get their crap together, get these payments out to the people who need them, the people who are relying on them for their housing, for their food, for everything else, and make sure they got paid on time. And they're way behind, hundreds of thousands of people behind right now. And everybody's out. The first thing I see is posts going out, and this is how Trump treats our vets. BS. Again, I call BS. Trump does everything he can for our vets. He's everywhere he has to be when it comes to our vets. But the fact of the matter is the VA dropped the ball. They don't have the staff. Their IT department is completely outdated and antiquated, and they just aren't doing their job. So put the blame where the blame belongs, and that's over at the VA building, the people behind the VA, and the fact that they're so blatantly understaffed by probably 45,000 positions in that organization that you can understand why things aren't working the way they should. So that's why I say, if anything, please do what you can to thank a vet, because they're not getting what they deserve right now, and they will, because it's been authorized to be given to them. But the fact of the matter is there's all this stalemating going on, and there's all kinds of people in power and placement of the VA that don't know what they're doing. So once they get their act together and start putting people that are in the position to fix the IT department, to connect with the people who are getting the benefits and work with the hospitals to make these things go down, then you'll see some progress. Not the president's job. He authorized the ability for them to get the GI bills paid and to get that money to our folks in military. You know, we've got 4 branches of the military plus the National Guard that we have to contend with as well. So it's just one of those ugly things that happens in the world, and people want to point blame to one person, and you cannot do that. There is not one person that blame goes to. So please stop blaming that one person and just look at it for what it is. I'm not trying to support Trump for the fact that he does mess up too. Don't get me wrong. I voted for him. I'll tell you that. I don't have a problem with it because I knew the consequences. But with relation to that, I had reasons to. And there's things I don't agree with. I don't agree with everything Trump does. He messes up a lot, man. And so did a lot of other presidents. I expect that. One person trying to run a country of how many millions of people? 300, 400 million people? It's a little tough to try and please everybody. And with the way the country is nowadays, like I mentioned in one of my other broadcasts, when it comes to a polarized country, right? During that voting that took place, the day after our broadcast last week, all we saw was people up in arms about how things were going again, and that it's polarized. Everybody's disagreeing on things, and nobody can agree on anything. Well, of course not. It's a red hat versus a blue hat life. That's what we have here in this country. The entire process of voting is based on creating polarization. You can't have something to vote on left or right or wrong if there isn't polarization. So we've noticed in this country over the past several years that it's kind of a 50-50 split when it comes to what people agree on and what people believe nowadays. So we have to expect that kind of polarization. I don't see that going away anytime soon. So all I ask is for those of you out there who are having difficulty with our president, do it peacefully. Get out there and say what you have to say. Don't make it so that the police have to come in and fix the problems that you're creating in the process. I think one of the biggest things we're finding out there in public is that people are being harassed, they're being manipulated, they're being threatened. There's all kinds of garbage going on over politics.
Wakey, wakey, eggs and bacon.
If we don't get it right one of these days, we'll be back in civil war again. That's the last thing we need. All right. I hate it when people have that air that they are better than you or their opinions matter more. I totally agree, Steve. One of the biggest issues that I see online in comments, just back and forth comments, when it comes to anything religious or political, one person's opinion always matters more than the other people. And that's when people get upset. They try to hold a conversation and they can't, because if someone's not open to hear what you have to say because of their closed-mindedness, you're not going to get anywhere with that person. You're never going to be able to have an open dialogue with that person because that person's not willing to. They have either what's called willful ignorance of facts, which is probably one of the biggest denials that people have in this world right now, is when they know the truth and they care to ignore it and they don't want to live by the truth. So they're more comfortable in that little falsehood that they've told themselves over time. And maybe their family, friends, relatives, whatever, are in agreement with that. So they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to have their family members or their relatives or their business associates look at them in an odd way because they don't agree with maybe shaking things up a little bit. We shook things up a lot in our family when we switched religions. I'll tell you that much. That's one of those things that you see the true heartedness, the true gut level association people have with their religion and their belief system. And when someone upsets that, they turn it upside down, that person feels somewhat, let's just say it, we could put it in a lot of terms. Threatened is one that I see a lot of. People feel threatened when their opinion is shown to be false. Okay, let's say they have an opinion on something they've always thought was truthful, that they were told was truthful. Perfect example are a lot of things that the church teaches. And I'm not throwing it out there to cause a debate or start an argument, but there are a lot of things that the church willfully ignores. And that is carried over for centuries into families and into the heads and minds of people who think the church is always telling them the truth, but they haven't. It's just the sad truth of the matter is they haven't always been telling the truth. So when you find out or discover these things, you tend to get angry, not only with yourself for falling for it, but you also get angry with those who lied to you. And that was one of the things we went through as we were making the transition to a new religion. It was a very difficult move, but we felt it was the right move for us. And now we're more comfortable where we're at, and we can talk about it easily, more so than we did before, because we were struggling with some of the worldviews or the belief systems. So now that we're where we're at, we can speak to people on a different level when it comes to religious beliefs. We can speak to people on a different level when it comes to political beliefs, because the religion we follow tells us, for the most part, you follow the law of the land before you follow the law of God. And I'm only saying that, and that sounds weird to a lot of people, but the fact of the matter is you can't honor a God that doesn't follow the laws of the land. Because, and no matter how terrible you might think those laws are, they're still laws. And whether or not you want to follow them, that's a choice you make. So if you decide not to make the choice to follow the laws, then you're a lawbreaker. And where do we go with that? Okay, how can you be a lawbreaker and a good religious person, a righteous person? Let's just use the term righteousness, because I think a lot of religions stem from this concept of being righteous, that you have to live a righteous lifestyle. And that's good and well, but just because one person can't live up to a standard that was put into text thousands of years ago doesn't make them unrighteous. It just means that they struggle with righteousness. And I don't ever claim to tell people that, I'm better than them because I do things that, God says you should do. I see that all the time. And I know I've swayed in a big way from like the political end of things and the veteran end of things into outside of politics and into religion. But there's a reason for that. And I wanted to go here today because this is something that bothers me extremely when it comes to the military. in not only our own country, but other countries as well. And that's the fact that most of the wars that are taking place right now are over a few particular things. It's usually over drugs, arms, or religion. Flat out. There's not much more we can fight over besides, the color of our skin. When we start talking about racism and ethnic cleansing and stuff like that, that's a whole nother ballgame. But that's the kind of stuff we need to stop. When we see people like in the case of Rwanda, where 800,000 people were just eliminated. And it's similar to what's going on with the Buddhist monks, some of the Muslims. There's a lot of stuff where people believe they're better just because they don't understand the other people. They don't get where they're coming from. They can't understand their religion. They think their religion is heretical, all that kind of stuff. Just because your religion doesn't agree with someone else's religion doesn't make their religion heretical. But if you are within a religion and you teach outside of that religion's dogma or belief system, then you are heretical. So we see that a lot. And when you have all these like sects of Christianity, there are sects of Judaism. Matter of fact, here's a perfect example of where the boys in blue finally stepped up to the plate in a small area down. Well, it's a Jewish organization known as Lev Tehor. And you can look it up. Big news the last few days. It was a rabbi, and I don't have his name. Again, I don't worry about names in these broadcasts. You guys can look this stuff up for yourself. It's all over the internet. He came from Israel. He came to the United States and claimed he had certain truths. Of course, these are how most cults start. Okay, so let's step into cults for a minute. There was a huge following of what are known as Hasidic Jews. You see them a lot with their payouts. They have the little curls that hang down. They have the black hats with the big rims around them, primarily dressed in black. The women can tend to wear burqa-type outfits with their faces covered, all black. And they started the organization. The gentleman from Israel came over here, started this little organization with several others in the New York area, in the Bronx area, where a primary Jewish population exists. After allegations of child abuse, which the way the children were being raised, they lost access to a lot of things, and especially the community, because the community stood up for him in court and then found out that he'd kidnapped a 14-year-old boy. Even though the boy stood up at one point and said, okay, he didn't really kidnap me. It was under duress. Okay. Well, they tried to leave, they were in Canada at the time. They were forced out of Canada and ran to, where did they run to? It's right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, it's a South African country. It wasn't Costa Rica. I think it might have been Costa Rica. Anyway, so they living in metal sheds, literally, little boxes, wooden huts, paper-covered boxes with these children, tons of children, just little kids that are barely surviving in this climate of rainforest climate with these metal sheds, only because they were running from persecution or prosecution, I should say, in Canada. And now they went to get the kids out. They had already hidden the kids the other day. They couldn't find the kids. And I guess supposedly just recently, the last day or so, they did figure this thing out, or they found the kids. I haven't heard the latest. But it's that kind of stuff that happens when you have cultish activity where people think that they have this one truth that everyone, and they're living like in an older lifestyle, a biblical lifestyle of not the no electricity like the Mormon, or not the Mormons, but the we've got them over here. I'm having a terrible time with this. Why can't I think of them? The Amish. Thank you. I couldn't think of the Amish over there. Thank you, Joe. He's got to tell me. He saved me. There's a large community of Amish here in the thumb of Michigan. And we used to go and buy pies from them on the corners all the time. They'd bring their carriages out to the road with their horses, and they would sit and serve pies and breads and all that stuff. And we would love it because every time we were going to our farm over in the thumb to visit our grandparents, we would stop in and pick something up on the way. And a whole nother lifestyle, literally a whole nother lifestyle. This isn't what we're talking about here. These people are so far removed from reality in some sense or another that they have no clue where they're at. And I'll give you a perfect example of that taking place just the other day in Toronto. A good friend, rabbi of mine, Michael Skoback, went to an outreach for a peace rally, supposedly, put on by a Messianic congregation, which was taking place. And a Messianic congregation is one that takes the tenets of Christianity and Judaism and mashes them together and tries to make a religion out of them. Seriously, that's the truth of it. They forced our Jewish friends out of the public gathering. It was a public gathering, and security kept them at bay and told them they were not to return. So it wasn't really a public gathering, was it? Though they could probably file claims of discrimination and likely anti-Semitism as well. We're not so sure. Well, we know why. This type of unit attacked like they did. They became very vehement and went after our Jewish friends. So there's ugliness all over, and a lot of it stems from religious dogma. A lot of it stems from this belief that the Jews don't get it. They didn't see their Messiah. There's other beliefs that are in stone, that these words from God are supposed to be words from God. I'm not trying to blaspheme God at all. I'd be careful where you do that. God forbid you blaspheme God somewhere around the country and someone goes to war with you over it. That's why I'm talking about this on Veterans Day, because we bring up the fact that our veterans fight for this country. They stand for what's right. They go out and they protect us from our enemy, whatever you want to say in that regard. But let's look at it for what it really is. Fact of the matter is, here in this country, a Christian-based somewhat, let's just say it for what it is. There are the structures and foundations in place that the people who formed this country were God-fearing people. Now, there was a lot of deism going on at the time, so it wasn't all Christianity. There were also Jewish immigrants at the time. It was all about freedom of religion, and that's what our veterans fight for, is the fact that we have the right to follow whatever religion we want to follow here in this country without any recourse, or the country trying to impose a religion upon us of their own choosing. So how do we handle the fact that there are still these beliefs in our country that we're the better religious people than the Muslims or the Buddha, the Hindus, anyone? Who are we to say that? It's not our job to police the world of religion, okay? And I think the biggest problem is that when one religion doesn't agree with another, you're going to have conflict. And that's just the way it is. So our boys are sent out there to try and clean up a conflict that really probably didn't have to exist in the first place. Now, I can see when you've got drugs being smuggled or you've got people being murdered because of their color or their belief, then you need to step in and do what's right. And that's what our military should be doing. If you have any various opinions on that, I'd love to hear them. When it comes to religion, I don't think it has any place in our stance on security here in this country. It doesn't have to do with religion. It has to do with extremism, period. You can take any religion in the world and find an extremist within it who's willing to kill other people for the sake of his own religion. That's just fact. I can't say it any prettier than that, because there is no prettier way to say it. If you're ignoring the truth and trying to make it a pretty thing that all religions will always get along, if left in one room, I think half would kill the other half. That's just the way I see it. And only because of the deep inbred belief systems that people have impounded in themselves. Let's just put it this way. They've brainwashed themselves in some cases. I'm not saying religion is a bad thing. Please, let's put it out there. I think religion is a good thing, because there are people who need that sense of security that doesn't exist in the world today. And they find that through their own God. They find that through their belief in a greater power, something that will be there to secure them or bring them safety or bring them peace and joy in a world of turmoil and turbulence. So I feel it's a good thing to have. It's when your religion tells you that someone else isn't worthy of your prayers or isn't worthy of your time. And when you have things like Michelle Obama walking by the president and can't even smile. Fine if you can't smile, but why even deal with the issue in the first place? Why do you have to? I can't look at it in any different way. Let the president do his freaking job, okay? If he's going to mess something up, then you need to make sure you have the right people in place to help curtail where he's going wrong. That can be done. It can be done. Get the people in place to make sure he's doing his job right. And that's what's working right now in the House of Representatives. And I hope to God that they don't abuse that power. I hope they come out here and they use it intelligently. And we have seats in the Senate still, as far, and again, when I say we, I say more the conservative I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. I don't choose sides. I don't pick one political belief over another. I vote for who I think will do the job right. That simple. I've voted for Democrats. I've voted for Republicans. I've voted for independent parties. I've voted for the U.S. taxpayer party. Depending on who is in a position to do what, I want the person with the most experience, most knowledge. Sorry, I got a little bubble in my throat there. That can actually get something done. Now, is Donald Trump getting stuff done? I think he is. Is he representing our veterans? I think he is. Is he doing a terrible job communicating with other countries and leaders right now? Yeah, I think so. I just saw an upset over this whole North Vietnamese thing where he's making great progress with the North Vietnamese, but now there's some military activities going on in South Vietnam that are against this whole process that they're trying to work together to help North and South Korea maybe become one nation. I don't know what they're working on. I'm not in the back office of the Oval or the back room of the Oval Office knowing what's going on over there. And I don't really have any right to speak on it because I'm not a politician. I'm not a policy maker. I'm not a lawmaker. I'm none of that. But I can watch what unfolds and I can see where he does what he does. And I can decide for myself, is that going to affect me personally? If not, I really don't have much say on the matter. I don't have a reason to have to speak up and say what I need to say because it doesn't affect me. Is it going to hurt my friends or family? Yeah, then maybe I should speak up. Did I contribute in some way to some of the mess that's happening in the world? I don't know. That's one to think about now and then. When you decide to take sides and you see what happens in the end, are you willing to step back and look at your involvement in the matter? Did you go out and make noise? Did you burn down a car? Did you break a window? Did you punch somebody in the face? I mean, there's so much going on right now. It's so ugly that if I see one person perform a violent act in the name of religion or politics, that person's off. I mean, that's it. I don't even want to communicate with that individual. I want nothing to do with those people because those kind of people are what are destroying this country and destroying this world. They don't want peace. They want their way. Okay. There's a big difference between wanting peace in this world and on this planet amongst all the people of this planet. Oh, look at that. I must have said something wrong. This is what happens when you start getting all crazy. My camera simply fell out of its holder. Let me pop this back on the wall here. That was funny. It landed on the floor there. Now I got to readjust my focus and everything. Sometimes it does that just because it's up on the wall. There we go. How you like me now? Pardon me. We're having minor technical difficulties over here at Wake Up West Coast. We had a camera fall. That happens sometimes. What do you say? So I hope I haven't really driven this home too hard for people. And I'm not trying to take sides. I'm not taking a conservative versus liberal side. I have a lot of liberal views. For God's sake, my gay daughter just married her girlfriend on Friday. I'm a conservative. I carry a gun. My transvestite son is locked up in jail right now. You can't attack me with your crap. Okay, I don't care who you are. And I'm just throwing this out there to all the people who want to say, oh, the asshole voted for Trump. Who was he to say anything about anything? Because he's just an idiot and he's a immoral compass. And he's what's the other one they used to use on us all the time? I'm a decrepit something or another. I don't know what they were calling us. They had all kinds of names for us people who voted for him. But I don't care. See, that doesn't affect me because I live my own life the way I want to live it. And I have my own ethical standards. I have my own moral standards. I know what they are. I know what they mean to me. And I don't necessarily care whether there's someone overshadowing me that says this is how I have to do it. I just know I'm a peaceful individual. I'm a friendly gentleman when it comes to social activity as much as possible. I won't put up with people's crap, though. So I can get a little outlandish at times. I won't deny that whatsoever. Political rants. I love it, Christine. Thanks so much for that. That's right. Every now and then you have to have a rant, right? Well, if people would have sat in and just had a little veterans communication with me, I think we would have avoided this completely. But my whole purpose for today was the fact that we missed the votes on my last broadcast, and voting took place the next day. I went out, made sure I voted. The stuff passed here pretty well. And don't get me wrong, this state of Michigan was primarily a conservative state for a long time until 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, and it started to turn into a blue state. And now we're kind of down the middle. So when I saw what took place, I voted both sides, depending on the office that was being filled this year, and voted for the recreational marijuana to be approved. That got approved. And I'm just kind of happy for the process that this state is just kind of right down the middle. And we're kind of always going to be that one. Yeah, I never vote straight ticket. I can't do it. It's just not like me, because there's too many overly conservative people on the straight ticket when you do that. And they need to give a little bit of leniency to the way the world's changing. And if we don't do that, if the conservative side does not do that, they're going to fail miserably. You have to vote for some Democrats because they're on the side of technology and innovation and moving ahead and, changing up the landscape of communication between religious leaders and government leaders. And I think it's a good thing. It really is. But there are limits as well to how open and how socialistic things can become when you get too liberal. So I don't ever want to, squash one side's dream over the other, because I think the more we can work together and the more we can understand each other and ignore our differences more often, like our political views and our religious views, but be able to sit down in a forum environment with mediators. And that's how peace treaties have also. Don't ever move to Europe. I love these kind of comments when they come in. That's probably true, because that's kind of how things work over there as well. Is our government broken is the big question. Should we honestly restructure the whole thing and get rid of this two-party system and try to open up more parties? Or should we just try and find a way to make the popular vote something more interesting than using, we can use the college electorate because it's fair, and people that don't understand it will never understand it. But it's for the simple fact that the cities contain most of the population, but the country's full of individuals that outnumber those in the cities throughout the rural areas, and they're not being represented without the electoral college. As to whether or not going with a simple voting system of majority rules in a democratic fashion, then we'll just have to see what would happen. But if anybody else has any comments with regards to Veterans Day, the White House fiasco that took place with CNN the other day, or anything that you don't like or do like about Trump or any of the other players in politics, feel free to step in and say something. I'm not here to shut anyone up, but if someone comes in here and starts ranting at a high volume level or cussing and swearing and calling people names, then they will be discharged immediately. Other than that, seats are open. I'm going to probably wrap it up if nobody comes in, because I've said my piece for today over here at Wake Up West Coast. It's lunchtime. We're here every Monday at 12 noon just to open up the conversation and make things more interesting rather than going back and forth battling comments on Twitter and Facebook. Let's open it up. Let's open our mouths and our eyes and our minds and sit down in a video conversation one-on-one and try to solve those problems that seem to be so eminent in social media today. And we'll probably be here tomorrow if we don't do something about it. Anyone? I'm going to leave that up to you. If not, I will wrap up the show. It doesn't have to be an hour, so I don't think anyone's too interested today in doing much talking. I'll leave it at that, folks. This has been Leland Best of BCBLive coming to you on Get Vocal, doing Wake Up West Coast. It's lunchtime. We broadcast out to Facebook and YouTube, Periscope now and then. But I want to give a shout out to all of the veterans out there who are slaving away every day of their work week. And that's 7 days, 24/7, keeping this country safe for all of us. Because if it weren't for them, we'd really be struggling to keep these borders secure, if you ask me. Catch us next week. I'm going to come up with some kind of crazy topics, I think, for next week. Get off all this politics, get off the religion, get into something fun. So please leave comments in my next show broadcast. I'll leave the room open, post them in the chat. That way we can bring them up next week and have some fun. All right, guys, take it easy. I'm out of here. We'll see you in the next live. Have a good day and a great week.